why do I not have such interesting story times to tell anymore? You know, the little ramble stories I give sometimes. And I'm thinking it's because at this stage of my life and in my current situation, I'm content. I have a job. I have a home to live in. I have a boyfriend who gives me all the emotional support I need. I'm in a very good state in my life. A good stage in my life, rather. You know, I'm in a very stable emotional state. And unfortunately, when you're at that point in your life, you don't have many interesting things to say. In other videos, I was out there, you know, going to different religious gatherings, trying to find my faith and all that. But I'm at a state where I actually believe if I haven't found it 100%, I'm very close. You know, I've felt connections even with a creator, you know, which may be what some people call God, others call it, you know, nirvana or whatever. But I've even had connections with a strengthened faith. So I really have little to complain about right now and little to want for. You know, there's always something you want, but so my life has become very humdrum and boring to the outsider. To me, it's a wonderful place to be in. But to my viewers, who I think most of you on this channel came over here because you liked my rambles and about my, you know, I would go on Tinder dates and, you know, whatever things I was doing. And that was all from being emotionally unstable and depressed and trying to find things and so so I guess I don't want to apologize. I'm happy to be at this state, but I really don't know that my stories are going to get much more interesting other than, oh, I've got my little garden and or today my boyfriend and I went to the mall and, you know, I don't have anything else to talk much about. So, you know, maybe some of you who are about my age, women about my age, might continue to be interested. I've got some stories about the changes in my body because of my, you know, age, which maybe you can relate to, but it's not something that's for general audiences. It has more to do with, you know, women things. So I could, if I have enough followers that are about my age, I could do videos about that, which, again, I don't even have much to say about it. I could just talk about what I'm going through sometimes. But it's not anything beyond what you might hear on other YouTube videos as well. You know, general medical things. And other than that, I don't know what I could talk about that's very interesting. I could talk about my art show, things that I'm doing. You know, I've got the art show, the art exhibits that we did, and hopefully we'll continue to promote the artist, Yanis Pagunis. You know, I'm doing that on the side, aside from my regular 9-to-5 job. I did open a channel a while back about, you know, people who maybe want to learn secretarial skills and how, you know, about the, you know, I could work on that channel a little more since I'm actually now working, still temping, but, you know, maybe if I go on a trip, I could, you know, do a video of my trip. My boyfriend and I are thinking about going on a little vacation at some point. So I'll try to go somewhere new and film my vacation, but, you know, I don't know. So we'll see what happens with this channel even. I mean, I guess I'll still post it sort of like as a diary. And, you know, but, so I apologize, I guess, to you guys if you wanted to hear my interesting stories. I think people love dating stories. You know, you go on a Tinder date, this happened on this date. I love listening to those stories myself from other people. But now that I'm no longer in the dating scene, you know, most of those videos are not going to happen. Many of those videos. Maybe what I could do is try to start making girlfriends, because that's one thing I'm not really good at. I'm not good at, I have my girlfriends that I made in college, and since then, I really don't have, I have one or two girlfriends that don't live in my town, who I made after college. They live far away. I'm in touch with them mainly on the internet. But maybe what I could do is start trying to make real girlfriends. Like, I'm just not someone who has friends as far as in real life. I have a lot of online connections, and maybe that's the case with a lot of people now. I was never much of a going out person. I usually fall asleep by 8:30 at night, and so maybe maybe I could start doing something like that. Join some sort of club like the meetup.com, which I tried to do in Miami. And I did meet that one interesting woman that I remember making a video about, where we went bowling, but she kept getting drunk, and the relationship kind of, it didn't end. I mean, it just sort of died out because I didn't feel comfortable going out with her and her getting drunk, so she had sort of an issue with alcohol, apparently. But she was an interesting woman, and, we went bowling, and so that's the last time I really made an attempt to make friends, and that one kind of didn't work out, So, and I did make friends, another girlfriend in Miami, then she moved to Palm Beach, and, she was nice, and we're in touch on Facebook, but now I've moved to Maryland, but I hadn't really developed any deep friendship with her either, but, maybe just make a few girlfriends where I just go out sometimes to have coffee, or, I don't know, I'm not into that, really, for whatever reason. I don't know why. I still call him my husband. Isn't that weird? My ex-husband, legally divorced in 2 countries, so there's really absolutely no connection whatsoever, and I still call him my husband. Because a part of you stays married, even after you're legally divorced, and even after you're emotionally, I don't have any connection to him, but there's a little piece that always stays married, I think. And maybe people who have been divorced would say, no, that's not the case, but I think you might be hiding it. You might be covering it up and denying it, and you're in denial. I personally believe that anyone who's ever been married, where you were really in love and everything, that doesn't ever end. The connection always stays. It definitely becomes, very watered down. But a part of you stays married, especially if you've had children together. And even if you hate each other and despise each other, and which hopefully you don't, hopefully you have a cordial divorce and you can still raise kids together. But yeah, a part of time stays, and you have to. I don't know if you have to. I think it's a healthy thing to get to a point, and I've heard this before, and I might have even mentioned it before, where you can remember that person and not feel pain. And you can even admit that you did have some good times at one time, and they were great times, and you can think back to those 1 or 2 or whatever few times that you had a nice thing, and accept that, yeah, that was a wonderful day that I spent with my, at that time, husband, and it was fun, and we laughed, and, and now that's over, but I can still remember the fun time that we had that day, or... and that's the point I've gotten to with my husband, my ex-husband. There we go, where I remember, and in that moment, I'm even, maybe because I'm recalling the good times, and I'm even in that moment that I'm recalling the good time, I'm married to him again. But it's not painful to leave that memory behind as well. Like, I return to that memory, I remember the good time, the laughter, the whatever we enjoyed, and then I can go away from that memory again, let the memory slip away and get on with my life today and not feel pain of losing that moment. That's my experience now all these years after my actual, divorce and separation. And I was legally divorced before I was emotionally divorced. That was my experience. Well, there you go. I guess I could give advice to people who are going through divorce now. Maybe that'll be the direction of my channel. Now that I'm beyond that, because when I was in the middle of it, when I was still going through, and some of you were watching me even back then when I was going through the divorce. And again, I didn't even tell you as much as what I was going through. And it was an uncontested divorce and everything. And it was extremely painful, even so. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And even if you're at a place right now where I know and I had it easy. I didn't have any children with my ex-husband. I had stepkids that were his kids, and it wasn't a great pain to lose them. I didn't lose them, as a matter of fact. They were teenagers when one was already over 18 when I left him. So definitely my situation was not as painful as other situations of divorce. But believe it or not, even if you can't see your kids as much as you would like to, kids get to a certain age where they do whatever they want. And I don't know each individual situation, but even if you lose full access to your kids, which I know happens and it's so unfair many times, the hatred in the divorce gets out of control, the fight for this, the fight for custody, and you lose access to your kids full time, and then the little time you might have, I've seen this in other divorce cases it's not my situation, the little time you get to have with your kids, maybe the other partner is making it more difficult because they may have hatred against you or anger or revenge or, emotions are high during divorce. And everything is exaggerated. The hurt is exaggerated. I'm not at a position where I can give advice to those people, except that all I can say is, by the time a kid is a certain age and can get around by himself, like he can walk, let's say you live nearby, which I think if you've lost access to your kids, the best thing you can do is try to live near them, at least a few blocks away, where when they get to be a certain age, teenager, they can walk to your house. They have easy access to you. So if at some point they want to see you, they will because then the other thing I know that happens is the parent who gets custody, even though they're supposed to give certain hours of the week to the other parent, they make it difficult. They may be brainwashing the child against you. I think you do what you can to see your kids, obviously, what the law will allow you to do. Don't get yourself arrested. And try to stay in close geographic proximity so that the child does have access to you when he's old enough to decide, well, even though my mother said all this stuff, I'm going to find out for myself. And the child will seek you out. I don't know what else to do, because I saw it with my own stepkids. They were, by law, prohibited, but their mother in their case had a mental problem. She had schizophrenia and other issues, whatever. And my ex-husband, took her to court. It was very easy to get the custody of the children because she herself signed them over. She was obviously not in a good state. The law said that she was not allowed to see the children unless under supervision. That's what the law said. And sure, every single time she lived nearby, the kids desperately wanted to see her. So we would tell the kids, you're not allowed to see your mother unless that's what the law says. They would get on their bikes and go to her house. And what are we going to do? Call the police every time the kids were... And we knew that the woman was not... I didn't feel she was dangerous. I think my ex knew that she wasn't dangerous to the kids. She had some danger... Well, in our case, it worked out, fortunately. I guess I can't say. The point is, which was worse? It was at a point where, okay, the law had said you can't see the kids unless supervised. Fine, that's the law. The children had bicycles, and they weren't even teenagers yet. They desperately missed their mother. We could say you're not allowed to go to your mother's house. They would get on their bikes and go to their mother's house. She was a few blocks away. Now, we were left at a point where, okay, do we call the police every time the child himself, not the mother saying sneak over to my house, the children took it up upon themselves because they missed their mother, they loved their mother. So then they would start doing it in hiding. They knew they weren't allowed, in quotes, so they would run off in hiding. Which is worse, knowing where they are or not knowing where they are and them sneaking off? And, so in our case, my husband was the one who had to make the decision, my ex-husband. He finally said, well, which is worse, them sneaking off and us having no idea where they are, or them saying, look, I'm going to my mom's house or whatever. Or so they worked it out, outside the courts. The court said one thing. My ex-husband decided, fine, she wants to see them, we'll take them over there on the weekends. We'll tell her we're coming back at a certain hour to pick them up. He used his own judgment. He realized that he had a little bit of a revenge thing, maybe because she did have issues with abandonment and all this. And I mean, I've obviously, if he would have felt she was a danger to her children, I don't know, maybe we were just lucky. I don't know. She was a woman who had been violent against other adults. She'd never lifted a finger to her children. So I don't know. I honestly don't know if it was the right decision, and it was my ex-husband's decision. They were his kids, but it worked out in his case. So he knew her from when they were together. They were never married, and he made the call to say, okay, fine, whatever. And then they got older and they got to be teens, and they would go over whenever they wanted. They were now teens, more able to defend themselves if at some point anything bad happened. And so my thing is that the law and the custody thing really only works up until the child is 13 or 14, where he can get around that age. He gets on his bike, or he gets on the metro rail or the public transportation or whatever, and he does what he wants. And you cannot tell a teen what to do up to a certain extent. You can try to guide them. You can say, okay, if you do this, I'm not going to let you play with your computer, or you can use that kind of thing. But you really can't tell a teen what to do anymore. You have to hope that this goes with whether they see another parent, or whether they get into drugs, or whether they make bad decisions. Or you hope that you've taught them well growing up, that they by age 13 or 14 know to make healthy decisions about what to do, about peer pressure, about sex, about all the dangers. If you're someone who's lost custody of your children, I really believe in many cases it's just temporarily. Just take advantage of whatever visitation you can do, and struggle to get that visitation, whatever the law has allowed you to do, and fight for that, whatever's legal, and go through the legal channels, and do what you can. I'm not saying it's easy. And then but whatever contact you can have legally with your child, the child will remember, and just make it as pleasant as possible. And when the child gets to be 13, 14, 15, they're going to do what they want, and you will have a relationship with your son or daughter. They are their own people after all. Even when they're children, they are their own people. They just don't have the practical ability to do what they want with their own person. They can't hail a cab. They don't have money to pay for a taxi to your house, all that. So try to work with even if the other person is being unreasonable, which I know is usually the case, try to work with that person through the channels, the money, the child support. As a matter of fact, I believe legally, if you can't pay the child support that's being demanded, legally you still have visitation. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. But just do whatever you can. And if you have to spend a lot of money now, try to, swallow your pride a little bit and try to work with the other side as best you can. I know it's not always possible, but fighting and trying to get revenge and all that stuff, and if someone cheated on someone, or, and if you are the custodial parent, please, don't get revenge. Yes, perhaps the other person cheated on you and hurt you, and don't use the child. And I know you've heard this before, but I'm telling you once again, still try to work with that person. Don't try to poison the child against the other parent. If you're the one who was cheated on and the divorce ended up getting divorced because the other person cheated on you, try to swallow your hatred and revenge, and just think it's important for the child to have a relationship with both parents. And your spouse might have been a horrible spouse, but that person loves the child as much as you do. So just try to be reasonable and allow the person to see. Don't make it difficult for the ex to see the child if you're the custodial parent. In the long run, you're doing your child. That's the love for your child that you're, and chances are whatever that person did to you, if that person cheated on you, that person's going to do the same thing to the new spouse or the new girlfriend. Or the person who wrote this book is a man I'm acquainted with. We became quite friendly for a while. He's from Florida as well. And I helped him a little bit in editing this book because I'm good with the computer, with word processing. But I actually didn't read the book. I just helped edit, pages of the book, a lot of pages of the book, and format it for the editor. But the subject of the book is actually that, about child custody issues. And I'm also not getting, another thing, I'm not getting any payment or any compensation for talking about this book. But, according to him, it helps people in the situation where they're trying to see their kids after divorce and all that. He is a gentleman who suffered greatly. He lost custody of his children after a divorce and apparently was never able, or rarely able to ever contact them again. And the name of the book is Preserving Family Ties, an authoritative guide to understanding divorce and child custody for parents and family professionals. Apparently it helps people understand the court system, the way the courts work, and, he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist. No, he's a psychologist. So, have a look at it, maybe look at the review. I'll put a link below. I'm not receiving any compensation. I might actually, I don't have it now, I might actually at some point activate an affiliate link, and then this may be getting me affiliate compensation, but I'm not getting it right now. If by the time you listen to this video I do have compensation, I will write underneath this video that I am receiving compensation. But at this time, at the time of this video, I am not receiving any kind of compensation for this book. And in any case, the Kindle price, I'm looking at it right now, it's only $3.99. So it might even just be worth it. Even if I did make money off it, I don't know what percentage of $3.99 I would be making. So, all right, so have a look at that if it's something that you're going through right now. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.